with all that's happening in our society right now, to add the dynamic of the pandemic, we really see our role here as a church as being the hands and feet of Jesus. I mean, this is literally how we have envisioned this gospel that we say we believe has been, how do we meet this need of the least of these right here among us? I'm the Reverend Dolomar Lebron Malave, pastor of the First Spanish United Methodist Church, commonly known as FSUMC, the People's Church in East Harlem, New York. The social principles are a huge guide for us in how we continue to make decisions, how we continue to engage the world, how we continue to talk about this loving and liberating gospel that has captured so many of us, that has transformed us as individuals. But it takes us using our hands and our feet to not just talk about it, but to actually walk in love and in truth and in hope and in justice in tangible ways for people to see it. And we give not because we expect anything in return, but we give because it is better to serve than to be served, right? And we give because this is our commandment, right? To love God with our whole heart, mind, and soul, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And it's done not in a way of us doing for the people, but it's in a way that it's us doing with the people. And so we invite the same participants who come maybe to receive treatment to also offer something. Maybe they know a remedy from their home countries. Maybe they know how to do certain things. This idea of mutual aid and how we support each other, how we create this accessibility and empowerment amongst each other has been crucial to how we continue to resist in the midst of all that we're experiencing right now.
We will always be up against oppression. And I say this because in the Gospels, all the way from the time of Moses, there was oppression. There were the oppressed and the oppressors. There was always that need for someone to rise to the occasion, to hold that stake up and says, there is hope. Let's keep the journey. Let's stick to the path. Let's fight for what's ahead of us.
In the book of Acts, they talk about how we're gonna be Christ's witness when the Spirit comes upon us, Christ's witness in Samaria and in all these places. And I always tell folks, we're to be Christ's witnesses right here on Lexington Ave, in East Harlem, in the epicenter of the pandemic in New York City. This is our opportunity to also be God's witnesses, to also show about the power of the Spirit and the power of the people. And it does not look necessarily like on a Sunday morning worship service. It may be a sermon that I preach. It may not. It may just be getting somebody something to eat who hasn't eaten in 2 days. It could be all these things, and God lives in all these places. And I think that our testimony in this last year has been, when you take what you have, when everyone takes what they have, when they bless it and they give it up to God, God shows up every time. I want people to walk by this church and say, you know what? When I was hungry, they fed me. And you know what? When I didn't have nowhere to go, they hooked me up with this social worker who got me into housing. And when I was in prison, they came to visit me and they wrote me letters. And when I was thirsty, they gave me something to drink, even though I may not have deserved it. I want people to see this church on this corner and say, you know what? They loved a lot of people, and they still do. And I don't go to church, but I would go to that church. Not because of what they preached about, not because of what they said, but because of what I've seen them do.